Hi guys, welcome back. This week I talk a lot, but we're going to sort out all the driving features. So brakes, accelerator, clutch, steering wheel, handbrake, etc. Nice simple one this week. We'll get into something more complicated next time. Anyway, let's get to it. So first thing I'm going to do is sort the steering column out. Basically the hole that I've got in the bulkhead for the shaft to come through isn't in the right place. I was a bit restricted with where I could put it anyway because of where the brake booster sits. So I had to put it somewhere, and where it is sort of catching the steering column, and the rubber boot that I initially put in there doesn't work. So let's get straight into it and fix that up. Excuse the mess, you know what I'm like. Yeah, so I made this out of a big chunk of this ABS stuff. So it's tapered on the edge to fit into a 3-inch exhaust pipe. It's not going to go on this one because this one's been welded, but it's tapered to be a real tight fit in a 3-inch exhaust, because that is what's on the car. Not the exhaust, but that is what's on the car. And then in there goes my little dingus end for the steering column to go through. So that's where the steering column comes through. Initially I had this wrapped around a couple of times and basically it fell out, so it was no good. But what I've done is made the inside of this have a little shoulder, so this goes in there with the 2.5-inch exhaust still in there, and that just gets pushed in here. Needs trim. But that gives me my seal that I needed. So shaft goes through there, that goes on the exhaust bit that I put on the car, and it's nice and low profile to allow the angle that I need this at. So that comes through there like that, and it sits snugly on there if I remember correctly. Yeah, with a bit of luck there won't be too much fumes coming through that. Might need to be a bit tighter. Might need to revisit this, but for now I think that's good enough. Now the next problem with the steering column is this. So that is catching that bit of exhaust that I welded into the frame. So I'm thinking what I'm going to do is cut here, make a longer one of them to fit in here, so I've still got the hollow tube all the way through here, and then I've still got the crushable steering column, and the forward side that goes on here is collapsible anyway, so I should be safe enough. But just cut that there, make a thinner version of this like that, longer, and weld it on. This is the forward column, and like I said, it is collapsible, so there's a collapsible bit in there, so I should be safe enough even if I'm extending that piece in the middle. I don't want that going through my skull. I've set the new lengthened column up in the lathe. So that's Ford end, that's BMW end. I've managed, it just so happens the new live center I've bought fits perfectly in the slot on the BMW end. I've got the DTI in it, so if I turn it, I can see how far out it is. Nearly 0.5 millimeter out. That's pretty good, I think. Either way, I'm welding it up on here to make sure it stays that way. Back in the car, that's the hole I was on about, and that fits in there. It does fit lovely. Needs a bit of a tappy tap, but I'm not going to do that yet until I fit the steering column in. But quite happy with that. It's neat. There's the new steering column. So in here we've got a collapsible part. This time with the nylon PTFE bushing on it, so there's no play in the steering wheel. Steering lock off. No play. Transfers it directly to the steering column. It goes through my nice new bushing that I showed you earlier, and it doesn't catch anywhere on the body. And then beyond that rubber ding dong is a collapsible sort of accordion type lower column that plugs into the BMW rack. That's a much nicer feel to the steering, and the wheels, it transfers to the wheels quite well. So can I get this bolt in? There's my hand, there's the wheel. See if I can get this in. So that's much better on the steering front. This gear stick is hurting me. Every time I put it in gear, it's catching my finger, and it sucks. And there's not a lot of leverage on it either. Now, I know the I know the BMW has a short gear knob from standard. They all do, I think. But I'm gonna make my own from this. So this is I just think some ABS plastic. So I'm gonna chuck it in the lathe, and 1, 2, 3, ta-da! That slips on there, and it, oh, so much nicer. Fifth isn't 100% happy, but it's alright when it's going. And reverse. That's the worst one. I'm quite happy with this. I could even paint it and keep it. It'll do the job anyway. As far as the steering goes, I've also done the those spacers, just trimmed them down a bit. They're about 15mm, 20mm wide now instead of nearly 30. So another 10mm of movement either side on both sides of the steering rack means that the wheels can turn that little bit more, and it only takes a little bit more, and it greatly increases the turning radius of this beast. So there's some decent gains made on drivability stuff like the gear shift, the steering. Next is the brakes. I still don't know what the problem with the brakes are. So it works fine with the engine off. It works fine without the vacuum from the engine to the brake booster. It works fine if I haven't got my foot on the clutch, like this. but they stick on if I've got my foot on the clutch and the engine on with vacuum being pulled. So I really don't know what the problem is. I might run it without vacuum assistance, or see if I can find the little pump that I can vary the vacuum to see if that's making any difference. Either way, there's a way around it. It's just I'd like some assisted brakes. And the last thing then to do as far as the driver inputs are concerned is the throttle cable. So I've done the throttle cable. What I did miss out was on the pedal, where it meets the pedal on the top, there's a spring that comes through to keep the cable taut, to give you a bit more feel, I guess. So I'm going to do that, and that's all 3 pedals working as they should, providing I fix the brake issue. Found the issue. It's this stupid thing here. So when you can press the brake and leave it go and it's fine and it pops back, but as soon as you push the clutch down, it sort of just jimmies the axle, pedal box ever so slightly, enough to make this catch on this thing here. I have no idea what this thing does. I don't know why it's there. I just put it back because I felt I had to. But clearly something needs to be done about it. So I'm going to strip all this off again and rebuild it, hopefully this time without any sticky brakes. Fixed it. I had to make new bushings. Can you see the red? So I just turned up some new bushings because they fell apart as they come out. That's helped a little, and I've pulled that down a little bit for now. I think it's probably going to need some more tinkering and persuasion eventually. But for now, watch the pedals. So we're going in reverse. When I put my foot on the brake, the brakes are much better, and that's it, they're not going any further. The brake pedal actually feels like a pedal now. Get that out of your way. And we can go forward. So so the doesn't have any effect with the clutch. I'm quite impressed with this car. It didn't stall. That's an impressive engine. And the brakes are far better. So I think I'm gonna call that problem fixed. Ah, he says no. Yeah, the brakes are much better. Ooh, yes, brakes much better. So that's the steering fixed. That's the steering fixed. That's a decent gear knob. Start from the start. That's the steering fixed. We've got a decent gear knob. The handbrake works, and the clutch pedal. We've got clutch. We can go into gear, handbrake off, and as I roll off the clutch, I don't know if you can see outside, we move. We can also put our foot on the brake, and when I leave my foot off the brake, it comes up despite my foot on the clutch. And of course, the loud pedal works. That's my favourite pedal. But I'm much happier with that. So that's it for another week. I sorted the little spring on the loud pedal, so That's all the pedals working. The gear stick is easy to use, the handbrake works, the steering works, we're all good. Next time we'll move into sorting the dials and gauges out when I've sorted the rest of the car out, as far as driver interfaces are concerned. So I'm happy with that. We've the car actually feels like a car to drive now, instead of some Frankenstein that an idiot has built in his garage. Speaking of idiots in his garage, this channel only started because I wanted to document the stupid things I get up to in this little man cave of mine, and the channel's actually reached 1,000 subscribers over the last couple of days, so thanks everybody for subscribing. It actually means a lot, because I'm surprised you're all stupid enough to watch me do stupid stuff. Either way, big thank you, and you know, do the drill. Subscribe and follow on these social media platforms, because I do post to Instagram and Facebook as well. You get to see random things that I do that I don't put on YouTube. But the main stuff gets put on YouTube anyway, so you're not missing out on anything. But come and have a chat to me over on these other platforms, and I'll chat to anybody. But that's it for this week. Things are going to slow down from now. I think I've got to start doing the back end of the car, which is time consuming. I'm hoping to get a week off work at some point that I can just smash it out and get some content done. But that back end is going to take some time to fix. I'm still waiting on my fuel tank to turn up. There's a whole story about that, but we're going to be doing the fuel tank next time, so that should be interesting. But yeah, thanks for watching. Come back next time and I'll see you then. Ciao.